Turns out that crucifixion is popular again in Western media. This time we're told, don't worry. A few crazy people on October 7th represent the entire feelings of millions of Palestinians, and they all need to pay the price for their actions. But the actions of a few extremist Zionists do not represent the actions of their people. I love the consistency. It always is not them, but it's always them. It's interesting today, an extremist went on a serial killing rampage to kill 14 different pastors in a rather gruesome story to which he is a ardent Israel supporter, claims that, in order to be Israel first, you have to kill Christians. This is not something that took place several thousand years ago. This took place just recently, where a man was arrested after already crucifying one pastor upside down, placing a crown of thorns on him on his way to crucify two other priests and pastors. Also, this is on the anniversary of, congratulations, it's been 10 years since gay marriage has been legalized. Let's go! And I saw a picture of it, and I go, society really did fall apart in the last 10 years. It actually, everyone's like, what's going to happen if gay people get married? Are kids going to start chopping their balls off, Mr. Trump? Well, I'll let you answer that. We'll answer that later in the show. Plus, we're now monetized here on YouTube, brand new channel. If you're on Rumble, make sure that you like the video, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe, and hit that button. Make sure that you also realize you can super chat everywhere now on Locals, on Rumble, and on YouTube. It's a fantastic time to be around. Anyway, it is approximately 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. We have incredible shows for you, including the fact that Brett Cooper now has a new job. Where'd she get hired? Well, we have all the details and so much more here on another episode of The Rift, live Monday through Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's start the show. Well, got our first super chat, ladies and gentlemen, today coming in from the Based Clone Trooper. We get some confetti. It's $20 there. You get confetti at $20. Very nice to see you there. Said, Zionist is just an intellectual way of saying NIC/HER, Nick Her. So thank you very much, Nick Her, for that response. It's fantastic. All right, we got a crazy story for you guys. It is rather weird. We were going to talk about it yesterday. We decided to push it off to today because it is so bizarre and so grotesque and somewhat alarming. I mentioned that, other than this, seeing that crazed Serbian or Albanian man, whatever it was, also attacked that 18-month-old, putting him into a coma. I mean, the world is a really sick and twisted place. I mean, gay people are getting married. Joining me for a very deep and deep dive into the treasure trove of intense stories happening today is my co-host today. Tell us who you are while you're here.
Hey, I'm glad to be back. Michael Hennessy of Snowflake_News, also assistant producer here at Rift and a contributor as well.
Yes, and we're having a great time. Don't forget, guys, we have these stories and we bring them to you. It is a slow news night, and that's okay because people are dying. People are being killed. Unfortunately, this is a true story. I was on my way to work today using a minority to put me in his Uber, which the quality of Ubers, I typically get the Uber Blacks or whatever because I'm usually taking them when I'm with clients or people like that, And by clients, we all know what I mean. And I went in normal Uber, and I didn't realize that, Ubers don't have to follow basic registration and car regulations. You know what I mean? Their seats are ripped. It smells like weed. The doors don't close all the way. There's a different shade bumper. Truly, Ubers went from get a ride with somebody in a nice car. They used to lease out cars to survive. You know what I mean? Isn't that how it feels sometimes?
No, it does feel that way. I know when we had the Tesla truck here, when they had the 1775 coffee giveaway, I actually had to go pick it up in Miami to bring it down to the studio. It was about a 45-minute drive. And the whole ride there, I was listening to mariachi music and the car smelled terrible. So yes, I've experienced this many times.
Yeah, of course. And in the back, joining us, you just saw him there. That was crazy. Some mariachi music.
Yeah, and I was about to say, that was just his ride with me.
Yeah, that was just riding with the Mendoza Report. How are you doing, Mike?
What's up? What's going on? You can follow me at Mike Mendoza. And by the way, I didn't even know that we had this. Did you know that we had that? I didn't even know we had that.
Yeah, we had a name key for you. We built it.
Yeah, it just never, yeah. Anyway, I never put it in, but Michael Hennessy was so gracious is to sit down with Brian and then recalibrate everything on the board over here. So everything's looking nice and organized. If everything isn't exactly on time, if I'm a little behind on things, and you know why, because we reorganized everything. So, but happy to be here.
Yeah, let's talk about this. So we got a great story for you today. I mentioned this as in death is on my mind because as I was driving into to work today with a minority, which is typically what I like to do to bring my food when it's raining, I noticed that there was an accident that had just happened, and there was a dead person in the middle of the highway. True story. Head blown open. It was a motorcyclist. People don't wear helmets here in Florida. They don't wear helmets. And he had skid underneath a oncoming car here in Boca, near, people know the Boca area right here. You have like the Spanish River area, near the ocean. And he died. He is deceased. And it was sort of this reminder, I don't want to be too gruesome here, but reminding you that life is very futile. It's very short, and you got to make your life count, which is why you should eat as much McDonald's as possible, jerk off to as much porn as you possibly can, and smoke weed every day. That's the way to live a fulfilled life. Am I right, Mike?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, that's our mission here at Rift: promote drug abuse and porn addiction. No, but that's what everyone else is promoting. But we're promoting something different. Let's talk about our top story today. Today, we're talking about a Jewish extremist that crucified a pastor. One of the most chilling stories that we've heard recently. Let's get into our top stories of today. Let's talk about it. I am not doing very well hearing this story. It is when I first heard about this story, I was highly disturbed. I wanted to talk about it yesterday, but we didn't have the time to put into it because I wanted to put a whole segment into it. And the Hodge twins were supposed to come on for like 10 minutes and they ended up coming on for like 40 minutes. So we didn't get time to discuss it. But we see there's a lot of martyrs out there. You have the Syrian martyrs, those who gave their lives, that are, they're saints. They, would not give up their faith. Listen to this story. Here's a report from Fox Local. I'm surprised it's not getting more attention from the mainstream outlets.
I'm not surprised, but yeah.
All right. Listen.
Adam Schiff, this man right here, he's accused of killing New River pastor Bill Scheineman, and he admits to our camera, to our Lauren Clark, that he is responsible for that brutal murder.
He made no bones about it. He says this was part of a plan to kill 14 Christian leaders in 10 states across the country. Lauren Clark now joins us live to explain, and we've got to warn you up front, these details are disturbing.
Well, John and Ellen, first of all, before I go into the details of that interview, I want to start with the man who is the victim in this case. I think that is super important. Pastor Bill Scheineman. He was beloved in his community. This was a man, according to people who knew him really well, who would do anything to help out a person in need, a light in his community, a light that Adam Schiff admitted to me right here in the Coconino jail about 2 hours ago that he took. He showed no remorse or regret for his actions.
Led into the room in shackles, Adam Christopher Schiff admitted to murder.
Did you kill Pastor Bill Scheineman?
Yes.
He justified his actions with religion, citing his twisted belief that Christian pastors are leading people into a false path by following Jesus. He said Pastor Bill was the first in a plot he called Operation First Commandment, aimed at killing and then crucifying 14 Christian leaders across the country. He admitted that he was about to kill 2 priests at the Chapel of the Holy Cross in Sedona before he was arrested by police.
The day that I was going to execute that priest, I tried getting into the back of his car, and there was like an older lady that was on like a small little bicycle that got into my way, and I was just going to get into the back seat and tell him to drive to his house.
I asked if Adam was ever victimized by anyone in the Christian faith. He said no. He said his family is Christian and that he had a good childhood. He denied being mentally unwell.
But Pastor Bill, speaking to people who knew and loved him, his family, he helped people get back on the right track in this world. He helped a woman who was living out of her car go into a house and get her life back on track. Do you think what you took was precious or valuable in any way?
Adam answered that question with a religious tangent. He said he was not sorry for what he did.
Will I apologize for my actions? Absolutely not.
Adam also told me that he had used drugs before, but he did not believe that that is impacting his mental state. He also said he would be okay with execution. Reporting live here in Flagstaff, Lauren Clark, Fox.
Okay, we have a lot to talk about. Before we talk about that, though, I want to remind you guys something really important. This story is serious, but obviously here we trying to take care of you guys this summer. We want to make sure you guys have all your ins and outs covered. One of the main things I want you guys to remember is that you guys got to be real men. You guys honestly have to be ready to fight. I have my firearms around here. I got my AR here. Got my Glock. Today's like one of those days. It's just weird when you see people dead and stuff. It just sort of messes with your head. It reminds you of a lot. There's a lot that we got to live for, right? One of our good friends here too got into a car accident. Was telling me how thought about his kids, and I was asking him, do you have life insurance? You got to make sure that you're ready, right, for whatever could come your way. But a lot of times what's going to come your way is just going to be a wild Harvard grad in the middle of the streets who's going to want to punch you in the face. Today, somebody walked into you very rudely and shoulder checked you, and you were going to kill them, but I told you let your ego go, right?
Yeah, no, that did happen. I calmed down, but yeah, that did happen.
Yeah, well, by the way, it's because, when you work your testosterone, this also helps you not just get your libido up, which is really good, and a lot of you guys don't need that. It doesn't just help you get your grip strength up, but it gives you back that tenacity, that feeling of being a man, of wanting to achieve and accomplish, right? That's what you need. Now, a lot of people, your testosterone is dangerously low because you've been, there's this war on your hormones, from the microplastics to the environmental toxins to poisons in our food. These synthetic chemicals and things have obviously done irreversible damage in a lot of ways just by naturally trying to restore testosterone. You should change your lifestyle. Make sure you're working out. Make sure that you're getting sunlight. Make sure that you're eating oysters and doing things to help your testosterone. But you also need to supplement with Man's Edge, which has all the proven ingredients that increase testosterone, 46% fenugreek, IGF, NO2, so you can get back your vitality. But it's in a special carbon delivery system that's under your tongue sublingually, so you get 98% absorption. Right now, get your vitality, your strength, your libido back. Become the man you should be by getting your testosterone up at ElijahIGF1.com, promo code Elijah. That's ELIJAH, IGF, the number 1.com, promo code Elijah. It's buy one, get one free on auto ship. When you click auto ship, you get 2 bottles for the price of one, plus initial 10% off with my promo code Elijah. All right, let's jump into this story here, because I think this is kind of crazy. So, let me see if I can bring the picture back up here. Here we go. Okay, so here he is. Here's the man. Mm-hmm. What you will notice something very distinct about his image here. And what is it that you notice is the most distinct part about this?
That neck tattoo?
What the hell? I'm just seeing this for the first time. Because I was on Zionist Twitter, and they were literally trying to argue that this guy was a Christian that tried to make Jews look bad. I'm not joking. That was the art. Carmelo Anthony, it's he was just got his phone stolen. He was standing up for the poor blacks who get this thing stolen by them white boys. And you're your story doesn't even make sense. Why would you kill people for promoting Jesus if you're a Christian? Do you? And then I saw this neck tattoo. I went, so we're gaslighting again, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the neck tattoos, you can see it's already been there for a while, so it's not like he just got the tattoo. So everything they're saying is just crazy. And to be honest, I'm not surprised that we're not hearing more about this. I mean, there's a war against Christianity. It's been going on for a long time. We're the most hated on as far as a religion. It may be in movies, television, all across the board. We're continuously attacked. They have no remorse for Christians. You can literally say anything about any other maybe Jewish, maybe Muslim, and people be up in arms. But the second you degrade Christianity, you attack the word of Jesus, then all of a sudden it's okay with everybody, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is interesting that people. I saw this interview with Candace on Jimmy Dore. Did you see that one? Candace Owens, where she was like, Pierce Morgan's asking me, why don't I use my platform more to defend Judaism and Jews? And she goes, would you ever ask a Jewish person that they use their platform to defend Christians and Jesus? No, you wouldn't. Because you expect Christians to tolerate every other religion, every other form of belief, but we're not allowed to tolerate our own. So we have to celebrate paganism. We have to celebrate degenerate humanism. We have to celebrate nihilism. Scientists, have their own form of godless atheism and agnosticism that we have to celebrate. Even to say, it's a Muslim mayor getting elected in the primary. Wow, that's such a good thing. How great is that? Vivek, wow, we have Hindus that are Republicans. Listen, You demon worshipers, I understand that we live in a free country. I understand that, we do have a freedom of religion. But in actuality, our founding fathers did not design a multicultural, multi-ethnic society to where we tolerated religions that literally killed the lifeblood of our country. And if you see a lot of the social problems, not all, but most of the social problems we deal with today seem to be a result of having too many cultures and too many religions in our country. When we try to cater to all, we can't cater to any.
Yeah, no, it's a clash between them, that's for sure. And for me, and for the rest of us, I believe that there is only one true religion, and that's the Word of God, is Jesus Christ. But the problem is the world's continuously against us. Jesus said, "Remember, if the world hates you, I think it was, if the world hates you, remember they hated me first." And that's what we see. We see the continuous attack of us, and as I mentioned, no matter where we go, and also, anytime a church, even not just this story, I know there's been recent attacks on other churches just in this past few months. There was a guy who drove a car into a church. He was going to go shoot it up. And these things are just scrubbed from the internet. They're scrubbed, you can find them on X and these types of platforms, but you're not finding any big news organizations talking about this because it doesn't fit into what they want. And the problem is, since this country has drifted so far away from Christ, that's why we're seeing the destruction. That's why we're seeing so much evilness in this world, is because we're not staying on the path and we're not following, making sure that we're the light in the darkness and the salt on the earth. So,
but these people are going to have to go. I don't know what you think, Mike, but to me, it's just like I'm actually in a position. Christians don't even get along, right? You have Protestants and Catholics and Orthodox, and in the Protestants, you have evangelicals, and even if you go to like Lutheran, you like the ELCA or whatever, like the gay side and the non-gay side. Bringing and inviting in Hindus and Muslims and Jews and all these Semitic, religions like Judaism and Islam. If we just took out Islam and Judaism from our country, we wouldn't be involved in most of the world's conflicts. And it's like, we didn't define this nation and establish it so that we could not only deal with Jewish and Muslim problems overseas, but so that we could deal with their blood feuds here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Well, I mean, that's a part of it. I think that obviously race is another part of it, because who's flooding into America? Well, a lot of people from south of the border. They're mostly Catholic. They're mostly Christian. They're not really, super observant. I wouldn't say they aren't super pious. A lot of Catholics who I know who come into this office, some people who we employ, it's a very different type of Catholicism. It's not just tattooing the Virgin Mary on your upper bicep or something, or wearing one of those bracelets with all the saints on it. It's not just like a fashion accessory. So obviously religion is a big part of it, but I think that race also is another component. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. Maybe people in our audience are a little bit more accustomed to that, but I think we can start at religion, obviously, because I think that people can be, obviously transformed through Christ, obviously, but there is a racial component to it. And, I think a lot of people, much less our politicians, are not willing to accept that, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, and we've seen the churches hijacked. I mean, the word of God has been changed in the Schofield Bible. You also have where you see now churches. I was over by the Tampa area before, and there'd be big transgender flags on the churches. You would have cross-dressing pastors, and the whole thing is just crazy, the corruptness that they're teaching people nowadays. And people are consuming this like this is the word of God, but it's not, and is guiding everybody off the path further away from God the more that they fall into this wicked teachings.
Yeah, and by the way, I wanted to point this out. Christians are under attack everywhere. A report came out today that more than 25 Christians were killed and dozens were injured in an explosion at the Church of St. Elias in Damascus, Syria. The suicide bomber who carried out the attack was reportedly linked to ISIS. And according to the Syrian Interior Minister, as cited by SANA, the latest attack is part of the rising tide of Islamist violence against Christians, despite promises by Syria's new leader, Abu Muhammad al-Julani, to protect religious freedom after Assad's fall. So you see, this is got to be an Orthodox church, by the way, due to the imagery. Christians are under attack. And when we talk a lot about, the fact that, white nations are also under attack, reminding you that this is why race and religion are inextricably connected. Officer Tatum, Brandon Tatum, who I've done speeches with, oftentimes slides into comments. I see you, dude. Mm-hmm. I totally see you. And mocks me, says that I'm crazy, that I'm a lunatic, puts all the stuff like, where I talk about the fact that, race and religion are mixed. He says, no, religion is the most important thing. And obviously, not to beat a dead horse, but there are plenty of Christian countries, including Haiti, right? There's so many Christians in Haiti. There's so many Christians. We know the Congo is majority Christian, right? There are more Christians in China than there are citizens of the United States. Do you know that? There's several 100 million Christians in China. Okay, from what I heard, maybe not devout, but at least identify more with Christianity and Catholicism and Protestantism. So, and that might include Mongolia, by the way, but the Chinese Han, bloodline. So it's like there's more Christians there. Do you think that China reflects a Christian culture? Do you think that the Chinese people, I would get along with them? No, not really. They fart in public, but I don't hate them. But
Yeah.
it's like, this is why it's like, I also want a certain form of architecture and peace and life. And I want a way of living. Can I get along with Christians everywhere in the world? Yes, I can. But Christians, like I said, don't get along with each other. So if we're naturally passive and, we let things go and we have our design in our society, why does everyone deny that we have our own distinct culture, our own distinct identity, when all of them want to come here because they see a distinct identity and culture, and that culture is white Christianity? And I think that there's this fight right now. I've noticed this new thing. So I'm not trying to make this too racial, because I want to be careful here to not make that about this. But Mike knows this. There's like Joel Webbin and a lot of these guys who are starting to realize this. This is in the Protestant, evangelical, and Orthodox church, including Jay Dyer and stuff, saying, hey, like we put Jesus first, and it's about Christ, and we're not preaching race. We're not preaching whiteness. We're not preaching this. But if we play stupid, and we don't realize that there also is more to life than just God, that God also gives us, faith, but also a life. There is a way of living. We have to have peace in our streets for our families, for our wives. How do we serve God? We protect our wives. How do we protect our wives? Well, by fighting for a monoculture, a society where we respect people's boundaries, where we, have safe streets, where we live in a culture where we don't gang rape people. Like, that's also following God. Mm-hmm. And that comes with defending your culture, defending your people. And it's very biblical too. The Jews were very, very much, they're an ethno state today. They've always been ethnocentric. And God commanded them to genocide people in order to wipe out certain sin bloodlines and to protect their own lineage in the Old Testament. And so it's like a lot of Christians I've noticed in the evangelical church are coming up, and they're pointing this out, and they're getting like basically the liberals. There's this whole like liberal and conservative nationalist split to where, by the way, I wanted to point this out. Do you know the whole phrase woke right came out of Konstantin Kisin and James Lindsay being afraid of what they saw at Christian conferences when he was speaking at conferences. They had even admitted this. They were afraid of seeing Christian nationalism. It wasn't nationalism. It wasn't white supremacy. It wasn't white nationalism they were afraid of. They were afraid of Christian nationalists. The combination of Christian and racial identity coming together and restoring this sort of European Christian Christendom. That's what they're afraid of. So they prefer multicultural, or as Shapiro said, I don't care about the browning of America. They want the multicultural, atheist and multi-theist country. That is why our country sucks. And that's what they're fighting for. James Lindsay is an enemy of God. He's an enemy of society, and he'll be dealt with by God and by his people eventually. But I pray mercy on his soul. But he's fighting for a destruction of our society. He's worse than a communist.
Well, yeah, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to distort the word of God. And what they do is they also like to use it as a tool against you. They like to say that if you don't follow whatever they're saying, then you don't love God. You're not connected to God. And, the one thing is, we all aspire to be like Jesus. We're not all perfect. We're all trying to get to a place where we can at least be, more God-like as far as, relationship and following the word of God. But a lot of times people just kind of use it as a, because this kind of goes back to Mike says when they're coming with the tattoos, is a lot of times we're not real disciples of Christ. What we are is we're just people who say, yeah, we're Christian, and then we party all week, we do whatever we want, and then Sunday comes around, try to get forgiveness again and continue the cycle. But the one thing that drives me nuts is just how
Don't talk about me like that.
Sorry, hey, listen, you said I could call you out on the show, so just starting to do it. No, I mean, so people like that is really sickening. They're the ones who are the most lost, but they know what they're doing. They're trying to corrupt the word of God, and they're trying to guilt us. They're trying to tell us you have to go to war. You have to go cleanse another country just so, we can help the chosen people. But chosen people are those who choose Jesus Christ. And I can tell you that if that church was any other religion, they would, like, say if that was, Jewish people, we would be over here like, oh, we need to put an end to this. They're going ahead. They're
Imagine
wiping them out.
25 Jews killed and targeted in an attack. Remember the 2 were targeted, and we had our DHS secretary, Christine, went to the country and cried at the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
For 2.
Yep.
They were Christian, by the way. They weren't even Jewish. They're just Israeli.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So if everybody be up in arms, there'd be much more of, okay, we need to go to the country. It's like, even like when you look at Ukraine too. I mean, Ukraine was something all over the news and the media, which is just Ukraine's crap. But as far as us helping them, but they were saying Ukraine's this great country, we got to help them. And then meanwhile, Zelensky was going in, he was rounding up people out of churches. He was pulling, different pastors and priests and locking some of them up. And yet here we are as a country, supposed to be a Christian nation. We're defending these people who are attacking Christianity left and right. So,
well, and I don't know if people know about this. Some sort of like less spoke about story. Crosspoint Community Church. I don't know if people remember this, but they were having a service, and there was a mass shooting that was stopped by the service. So what happened was, I'll play this video. A man rammed his car through the wall, and then I think he got out, and somebody in their car ran him over. And then someone shot him, right? Isn't that what it is? And then they shot him.
Security got him.
Yeah, they ran him over and they shot him.
Yeah.
But look at this. Check this out.
Oh. Come on, everybody to the back. Please, everybody come to the back. Come to the back. Yeah, they gotta come. They gotta come. Come on. Come on. Go. Out, I don't think is a good idea.
Seeing how slow some people evacuate, I always wonder how so many people get killed in these mass shootings. And it's like,
that one last person's not even running.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, but you know what? Maybe he knows where he's going when he dies, and he's like,
has that relationship.
You don't know what his wife's like when he comes home every day. You don't know what men's individual situations are. Sometimes being shot might be the greatest way to go. Instead of being stabbed with little needles every time you go home, you know what I mean? Yeah, some dudes have it rough.
Yeah. Well, one thing too to point out how you were mentioning how we bring in all these different nationalities, different religions into a country. I mean, a perfect example too is if you look over at the UK, you have a lot of different times when it's either Muslims or somebody else. They're destroying the churches, they're burning them down, they're ripping the crosses down, and just destroying everything. So unfortunately, when you bring mass amounts of people that don't have the same beliefs, especially, don't have a relationship with Jesus, what you're going to run into is chaos and anarchy. And that's what we're seeing. And that's going to get a lot worse here, especially other areas, how New York's getting a lot worse and other states as well. We're going to see more and more of this extremeness. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what you think about this, but this is actually pretty common. Small churches are attacked all the time and we don't really hear about it. Dude, do you know when there's just like, when there's just like somebody like that like throws a bottle of urine at a synagogue, the whole world stops in America. And it's a hate crime. It's investigated. And usually they find out that it's someone from the synagogue that conducted the attack.
Yeah.
Almost every hate crime against Jews is either by black people in New York or which are the true Jews, by the way. They built the pyramids.
That's right.
They're the Jews. They're the real Jews. They are also 100% of Nissan Altima owners. Dead ass. You know what I mean? Anyway, it is interesting though that we live in a situation where a lot of people are such victims they have to fake their own hate crimes. Christians are the most persecuted religion in the world. They are the most persecuted, and we know that anytime Islam becomes more than 30% of a given area, right? When Islam becomes too inundated, there becomes problems of sectarian violence. And they are already, I believe, over 30% or near 30% in London, not in the UK. In London, I think like 8%, 9% in the United Kingdom. But that's 9% too high. Mm-hmm. And on the discussion of religion and race, I want to talk about this because this is an interesting discussion. We're still on news, but this kind of goes into the cultural discussion about the problem with allowing other people who don't think like you to live by you, right? Everyone's like, it's all about tolerance and acceptance. That's not what makes a strong nation.
No.
Right? Intolerance, bigotry are different things. Bigotry means you're like a hypocrite. It's like, it means you're hateful to the point that it's like ironic or something. And the reason why people are considered bigoted today is because we're supposed to be this open society. But an open society, a woman who opens her legs is what? A whore. That's what that's what happens. And with whoredom, comes a lot of complications. The value goes down. When your country's open to anyone, it's like a college or anything. It's no longer holds the value that it once had. However, I want to remind you guys two things. This summer, don't forget, guys, that you got to actually take care of yourself and your body. Remember to check out the products that are all natural, that don't have any harmful chemicals from Van Man. These products are both not only valuable to your body and to your health, but your skin is your biggest organ. So obviously we talk about all the time, the Van Man tallow. It's a beef tallow. Sounds kind of weird, I know, but it's made with essential oils and honey, all natural ingredients, none of that weird stuff that they have. It's also got no microplastics. It's got a metal cap and a glass. They found out that plastic caps still get microplastics in them when they're on top of glass. So that's not good. But also, this is the new product that we don't talk about a lot, but I've been using because I'm very white. And I also don't want to be like pale, super white. I still want to get a little bit of color. I know this is crazy. This is considered color for me, right? That's kind of crazy. I'm a man of color. And it's just tallow and zinc. So it's really nice. You can see it's got no weird, it's like, just like has a nice consistency. It's not chalky. It's nice and smooth. It goes on really nicely. I also like lathering it. I love doing it on purpose to my son, putting it all over his face and not rubbing it in. So he's just got because I now realize my parents did that to me on purpose.
White face instead of black face.
Yeah, but when you're a kid and they never rubbed it in.
Yeah.
So I just cake it on his face. But the sun's hot out here, man. It is really hot. It's piercing. And this stuff's natural. They found out a bunch of the sunscreens have, carcinogens in them, cause skin cancer. So a lot of sunscreen causes skin cancer. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you check out the products from toothpaste, deodorant. It's all really good stuff. Everything you use every day without harmful chemicals at vanman.shop/Elijah. That's vanman.shop/ELIJAH. Promo code Elijah, ELIJAH for 10% off. Check it out before it's too late. Links on the screen and in the description. I appreciate you guys supporting the show and also always watching the ads and buying the products because we've been demonetized for years. And because of you, we're able to run the Rift and we're able to get this thing going. Now we're monetized on YouTube again. We have a small following, but you can send your super chats. A couple more super chats just came in before we jump into that discussion. Schizo Friends at $20. Let's get the, let's go. Woo, woo, woo. He wrote nothing. Just $20. Hi on Jack sent 10 quid. 10 quid. I got attacked by a gang of Muslims last week here in the UK. It's not funny. Police are trying to pin the blame on me, saying that I incited them by intervening in their harassment of a young girl at the bus stop. And yeah, dude, I'm sorry, brother. It is true. It is true. It is really sad what's happened in that country, and I definitely think it's definitely an unfortunate reality. All right, so kind of talking about the religion thing, I wanted to go in this idea. Let me see if we have it here. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's talk about population change. Let's talk about what happens when you invite people in. Everybody knows that we've got this guy. What's his name? The New York mayor candidate?
Zoran
Mamdani.
Mamdani. Yeah, there you
go.
go.
You're saying Zohan because of the Adam Sandler movie Don't Mess with the Zohan.
That might be where I'm getting it from, yeah.
Adam Sandler also unironically has a house about 5 minutes from here.
Well, we are in Boca Raton. I mean,
we're in the Zohan.
Yeah, we're in the number one for them.
It's not the zone, it's the Zohan.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy gets elected who's a Muslim communist, and what does the right wing do? What you would expect, they blame white people for him getting elected. And I would like to debunk this for you here. So we won World War II. Can we all agree to that? We won. That's what they told us. We won, correct?
That's what they told us.
Okay, we won World War II. So check out this population map I put up here from American Renaissance. So right here between 1940 and 50, if you see on the x-axis here, which is the bottom for those that are new here, you'll see between 1940 and 1950, about 1945 approximately is when we won World War II. Now, New York is probably the most, or if not one of the most diverse cities in all of the United States. So it's a good indicator to see what's changed in America, right? Like we can kind of see what diversity means or where we're all headed. I've always said that the culture and the heart of America begins in LA and New York, and then it just bleeds in. right? All style, all fashion, all technology comes from, well, I mean, I should say California, New York State. It comes from there and then it just trickles down. So this is going to be some math. I need everyone to really be patient here with me. So about 1940 mid-war, you have about 94% of New York is white. Now, it would make sense that it would decrease a little bit between 1920 and 1940 because there's a lot of, tensions going on. A lot more Jewish people start moving to the United States. There's a lot of global issues. Is there any way, by the way, you can grab me some water real fast?
Yeah.
While we're doing this thing? Sorry about that. I just don't want to stop the show. But one of the main things that that happens here is you'll see the number reducing. Boom, 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 boom. Then right at 1945, you see that it's going down to 90%. You obviously probably have more transition of non-white people into America. Then right here, 1960, right? So after this, you have the formation of the United Nations, and you have the Fabian class cultural revolution. You can't forget the Fabians, Mike. Am I right?
Yeah. I never forget the Fabians, actually.
You never do.
Or the royal family.
Or the royal,
Especially.
yeah, who are really in control of everything. So you go to 1960 here, and what you see is between 1960 and 1980. So we can go like a little bit before that, but in 20 years, you're losing about 30% of the density of the white population. And that's actually diabolical. So what happened between here? Well, right here about 1970, see when we got off the gold standard, when we got off, thanks brother. Thank you. When we got off the gold standard, right here about 1970-ish, you see that the population dropped substantially. And that could be because there became hyperinflation. There also was economic hardships. It became a very violent and a dangerous place. Maybe there was white flight. That could be part of it. But what's really important to notice is that in 1965, you have the Alien Immigration Act, right, that allowed non-white countries to come in. And we know that when non-white people move next to white people, they typically leave. We had a bunch of people with Dodge Chargers move into my complex. I left.
You said a lot of people were actually leaving the complex.
Yeah, they're all
ever
upset.
since, yeah.
Ever since they allowed, they changed the limit for how much income you needed to move in.
Mm-hmm.
You used to have 5 times the income, then they moved to 3 times the income, and then a bunch of people, Dodge Chargers and Challengers came in, and then there was a lot more smoke alarms going off in the hallway. I'm not joking. People start complaining. I can hear my neighbor's smoke alarm going off. And there was parties. And then we had to get security at the pool. We had to get security. Then they had to start locking all the doors, shut down the pool at night. Then there was break-ins. Then mail started getting stolen. This is what happens when you allow too many Harvard grads into your complex. Okay? You grew up around a lot of Ivy League students.
Yes, I definitely grew up around a lot, to the point where police actually would pull over and ask if I was lost when I was walking around my neighborhood. So yeah, plenty of them.
Okay, so you know. But this is like a really important graph here. So you're going down to 52, and over the continuation, it looks like it's sort of flatlined, right? The white liberals that want to live there are there. Now, let me tell you something that's kind of crazy. This white population actually includes Jews, okay? And New York is very Jewish. One account, if I can find it here, let me take it off here. There was an account here that brought up a really important statement, because they do a lot to pad the amount of like replacement that's going on here, right? They really do try to pad it.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'll say that it looks like it doesn't smell like weed, like how New York is like now. So
it reeks like weed in New York. We've been a couple times recently.
Yeah.
And it was like,
it smells like weed everywhere.
That's one thing Australia doesn't smell like. I can give it that. It does smell like Indian curry some places, but it doesn't smell like weed yet, because weed's illegal, you know? So, I have a medical card in Australia still, an active one.
Oh, they have medical there?
Yeah, I did have a medical card. I will never say anything that I ever used it, because it's still not federally legal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, they have medical.
Okay.
But dude, it's actually crazy to get a medical card there. It's like, this is why it doesn't smell like weed. To get a medical card, you have to have previously been prescribed medication from a physician for, like, you can't just be like, oh, I can't get diagnosed there. You had to have been previously diagnosed, and they have to call your doctor and get a transfer of script. And I wasn't like smoking J's, and they don't even sell J. They don't sell like flour. It's just like edible, and then the cartridges. And I use the edible stuff to go to bed, to sleep. To sleep, to watch movies and go to sleep. No, but I used it, but it was like a crazy process, and there was like a 2-week waiting period, and like you can only get you have to get like, it's like by refill, and they actually write the script like one epic night of munchies and crunchies, you know what I mean? And a crazy swoop-a-doo-dah night. That's what they write, and then you go get it, and you're like, whoa. No, but they actually like, it's like a white country still where like weed is considered a medication, you know? So, and then they call it, cannabinoid or something like that. That's what they think they called it there. Today, we just go to New York and it's just like tons, Columbia students, Brown University, just all over the place. And they're just crack addicts doing whatever, everything. There's weed shops everywhere, sex shops, bodegas, not a single white person in sight. And they say, this is why people said like, oh, it feels like there's less white people than 30%. The reason why it feels like that is because when they say white people, that includes white Hispanics, that includes Jewish people. Oh, here it is. This site here, this guy, Permabula. Do you know this guy?
He's based. I like him.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's cool. I like him.
Permabula said everyone is lying about the demographics. That's just no way whites are still more than 50%. We're so cooked. And I said, not in major cities. It's like 30% in New York and most places in LA. And they seem to count white Hispanics and Jews in that. A lot of places were like 10 to 15%. And then we're spread out. So really it's like 1 out of every 10 people you see, like in LA, right? It's like, there's no white people anywhere.
I was definitely a minority in LA.
Remember they told us that they're like minorities like me. And then Sarah Stock was like, we're like the only white people here. We're like the 3 white people in the city. What do you mean minorities? But in the country. And you're like, yeah, well, there's some states that have a lot of white people, but in most big cities, we are a very rare specimen.
Yeah, no, for sure. I realized that when I was in California. I see the same thing when I'm in New York. And here in Florida, if I head over to Miami, I'm pretty much the minority over there as well. Even some places I would go out to eat, I would have to speak another language, Spanish or whatever, just to order my food. And they look at me like I'm, like I should know better when I'm there. But yeah, we've definitely become the minority, and it's only getting worse. All these policies that they're enacting, that they're allowing all these illegals to pile over our border. You have them even pushing for H-1Bs to come in and replace everybody's jobs, and even people on the right are cheering for the H-1Bs. So yeah, we're being replaced. I mean, this is all part of it, destroy Christianity and also to get rid of the white majority and wash us out pretty much.
According to Anna Perez, though, don't be fooled. New York is 70% white. They're just Southern European. I'm just teasing you, Anna. No, but they're Southern European. But okay, but out here they don't even speak English.
Yeah, not at all. Like especially Uber drivers. And I remember I went to an event at the Trump Doral a couple years ago, and then I went to a CVS that was nearby, and the CVS was in Spanish. But which I thought was interesting. But also what I think is interesting is that blacks and Hispanics still refer to themselves as minorities, and I think white people need to start taking that title back. I mean, it's not something to revel in, it's not something to be proud of necessarily, but right now they're using it to their advantage. They're leveraging it by saying we're outnumbered, so therefore the ruling class, who is who they claim to be as white, but I mean, we know it's a different story other than that. I think that if people saw the numbers for what they actually were, which is once you actually break down white Hispanics and Jewish people, then it's a very different demographic picture that's being painted there.
Yeah, I think, it's already been taken, but we could spell it differently, like put like an umlauts over the I, but if you called show the Minority Report, it's like, I know that's been taken. It's like, what's insane to me though, is as we're talking about this, why are we talking about this? Well, there are consequences to this, okay? So when you look, there's a discussion happening about how did a Muslim communist get elected? Well, when you look at like some neighborhoods in New York, well, of course, they say diversity is common. This is, look at this video from Tehran and ask me, when you're in Tehran, you don't see white people. So this is a normal neighborhood in Tehran. And you wouldn't expect to see white people there, right? Because this is like... So you can leave that on the screen when we're talking here. But so this is a nice neighborhood in Tehran. Which borough of Tehran is this?
Well, this is definitely New York. This is, unfortunately, this is where we are as a nation. And you see more and more of it. I know they even had something similar happen in Times Square as well. So,
yeah, that's New York. You got disabled ones and everything. A couple of the super chats that have tuned in. Randall Flagg, you don't get anything for $2. They said Houston is apparently the most diversity in America now. Estimates have non-Hispanic whites low as 20%. My friend says it looks like a Star Trek city. One of the only reasons actually why I'm still considering moving our business to Franklin to Tennessee there is because, well, it's really got an American population. It's actually nice to be around that. Minus Mark Lobliner, who's the infiltrator. That being said, a couple other super chats came in on Rumble. Joshua Tries One for $5 said, I'm actually becoming more and more anti-immigration, not because I hate minorities. I do, but because the West makes immigrants gay and demonic. Where the White Went Wrong by Mr. Hennessy.
Yeah, book's coming out soon, guys. I got it on the way.
Don't forget, we do have our book club that you can join this Sunday. We're recording it on Saturday on 12 with Sarah Stock and myself and Henny and Mendoza, and you can join the book club. Get to the first 3 chapters of Where the Right Went Wrong by Patrick Buchanan, and send a picture of yourself reading the book or watching the show to mike.mendoza@rifftv.com. Reminding you, it's not at therifftv.com. A lot of people keep saying that it's not going through. It's just rifftv.com. Check it out, and you can be in a raffle to win that. And every week going on here forward, we'll be doing more. The first 3 chapters are amazing. They explain everything, and you'll realize why I knew that there was never going to be some massive peace deal between Iran and Israel if you read the book. That being said, another couple super chats here. Bloodshot567 sent $5. Said, bring back that EDM intro that you guys danced to. Shit is hilarious. No. No, I really like the dance.
I actually enjoyed it. Kind of loosens you up before the show, and you know. The bad part is I had to pick up all the money at the end of the day, but
we may do something like that back for Fridays. We might make Fridays a completely different show. Not really, but it's going to be different. Fridays right now are going to be pre-recorded. So it's
casual dance Friday.
Well, yeah, and Fridays are casual, so no callers on Fridays, basically. We're not allowed to work callers on Fridays.
Did you read Homer's at the top?
Not yet. Homer J. Fuentes with $50 in the chat.
Hey.
That was nice.
If I had shaved recently and had been at the gym not moving, I would take off my shirt right now for him because it's just us here.
Yeah.
But you just get a little flex instead, you just get a little, here we go. All right. He said, from burning down churches to literally crucifying pastors, it's war on Christians worldwide. And that is absolutely true. It is war on Christians. It is, man. It is. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely a war on Christians. So the reason why I talk about this is because this is what things look like. This is what's going down in our country. And these people today, this guy Mondami, Mr. Salami, he hates America. And I don't think people are willing to say this because everyone always says, we import the third world, become the third world. Here's the truth. Import non-white people and you are no longer the West. That's the true phrase. It doesn't mean you hate people. It just means I would feel weird going to Malaysia. I would feel weird even moving to Thailand permanently. Look, I don't mind if someone wants to work here temporarily. It's called H-2B visa. Mm-hmm. I don't mind that. There's some job, especially an opportunity. Maybe there's a scientific project and they need a specialization, filled now, and it's hard to find somebody now. And there's somebody from Poland who's going to come in and live for 2 years and help with this cancer research project that's going to benefit one of our companies in our country. That's fine. That's not what we're talking about. But when you take somebody from a country that is Muslim, like Malaysia, the average height is 5'5". What about it's kind of weird. Mike is a Southern European, and but he's tall. I literally saw. Do you know these there are some of these Hispanic guys around here that you just want to conquer. You see them and you go, how easy it would be to conquer you guys? They're tiny little people, like little pigeon brown bodies. And you're going, do you ever feel that colonizing, conquistador, come back in your blood? Because Mike would have been a conquistador. He's he's a Southern European. Mike would have conquered the short ones. Who's in your family's tall? I would never ask you that.
Actually, all my uncles are on my Mexican side are 6'4". I have,
so they got the Spanish genes and the European genes.
Yeah, well, so
that's not the Mexican genes.
by the way, because of a lot of the Hispanic white supremacists, which I'm definitely not, obviously, but because of the Hispanic white supremacists really coping and starting to say that they're this and that, I'm actually just starting to embrace that I'm Mexican. So like, I kind of hate to be like, well, actually I'm this and that, blah blah whatever. But per my ancestry report, I'm 12% Spanish, which would mean that a great grandparent of mine was straight from Spain. So probably whoever that was probably 6'5", because a couple of my uncles are like 6'4". So thankfully it's northern Mexico. It's not southern Mexico, because I was actually in a Salvadorian restaurant this past weekend, and everyone there was like 5'1", 5'2". They were like gnomes.
Dude, we're gonna be back there in El Salvador, and like, and like, I'm holding true to this too. You know, like, okay. Actually, Homer J. Fuentes and I were hanging out recently. And I actually, can we talk about this? Because, look, it's like you do interracial relationships, you do interracial relationships. No one here is like trying to be some sort of like, white savior, like you're going to find out that, half these people that are pushing for like white purity and stuff are like Indians. And like they are like Indian and Pakistani accounts. Nobody's here is naturally coming from this position of like, you grew up rough, you grew up in Chicago, I grew up in LA. We all grew up in like liberal areas and whatever. So no one comes to the table here trying to like ruin anyone's life. Listen, if you're out there and you have a Mexican girlfriend or whatever, this is not like an anti trying to tell you you're going to hell. But there's a lot of things that I didn't think just 2 years ago because a lot of my ideas, I'm not like liberal. I have a liberal personality. Not progressive. I have a liberal personality, but I've always had a conservative mind. We're like, I'm born into a liberal society and I'm naturally kind of more of a open-minded person, but because I'm not retarded, well, I am, but not like that. You know what I mean? So I'm not progressive because I'm actually regressive, because I start learning by what I observe that sometimes what I think should be okay isn't okay. And that's okay to admit you're wrong. It's like, or we're ignorant. Like you're like, and I think miscegenation is one of those topics that I feel uncomfortable talking about, but I do think that there is a plan. I think I've noticed it. There is a plan to destroy white genotypes or like traditionally Caucasian genotypes. It does seem like there is an actual plan. And I read the Kalergi plan, and it's like we are like all Hispanics almost in this entire crew. And even Brian's, I'm not saying about his personal life, but even he's like interracially married, everything. So this isn't like hate on anybody, but I do believe that there is a genuine plan to erase the Caucasian genome. And I don't think there's any arguing against that. And I guess that's why I've become like, I used to date Hispanic girls. That's it. I've only been with one woman in my entire life. No, but I used to date them, but I used to never touch them. And I guess I never really they're hot. I love Latin girls. You would know they're hot. But I get like kind of interested when like I see like out here, like my wife asked me, she's like, I don't know. Like, I don't understand interracial, like white girls with black guys. And I go, what do you mean? She's like, I guess like Hispanic guys or something, like, when you look kind of alike, it like makes sense. But like, how do you as a white person be with a black person? Like, that doesn't actually make sense to me. And she wasn't being racist or anything. She's like, I don't get how you like a black features. Like, how would you like that? The only reason why she was with me too is because I have a BBC. You know what I mean? Joey Manarino. Joey Manarino. No, but I think it's an interesting discussion. I would love to have some like eugenicists and also like maybe a Christian who's like interracially married or like thinks it's a good thing to talk about eugenics and like miscegenation, because it's a really sensitive topic to people. And then again, I think that the people that are really, the reason why I don't like it is because when you talk about miscegenation, the people that are really against it tend to be like, they're like 19-year-olds who aren't married. They're like, dude, don't ever be with someone who's not white. And they're like fat and not even dating. And you're like,
or we have some people that work with us who are actually Spanish, and they'll be like, I'm preserving the white race.
Yeah, but it's like, it's one of those topics. And also, like, what are you going to tell someone? Like, hey, man, you're not allowed to date who you want to? Obviously not. But I do think that it does scare me a little bit. It does scare me a little bit that I feel like our genes, like blue eyes, blonde hair, I do feel like some people are breeding out, right? Candace Owens is one of them. She's like breeding out, right? She's like lightening her genes. She's like she's changing it. But like white girls marrying black guys, are we okay with that?
I mean, I don't have anything against anybody if they choose to be with somebody. Do I prefer if the white race was a lot more, the main one, especially here in the United States and UK and all these other areas. But if someone dates someone outside of their race, I'm not against it completely. But I would prefer to see us, multiply much more for sure.
Well, yeah, but this is like asking the group here the questions like, is there levels to this? Because like, Mike, you would not marry a black woman.
No,
there's no way.
No way.
I don't think you even find that. Like, everyone's always like, don't show me some freaking Caribbean girl who's like light skinned and sexy. Like, don't tell me. We're not talking about anomalies. It's just like me. I'm not into Chinese girls, but it's like, oh, you show me the hottest Chinese woman, I'm gonna find her hot. You know what I mean? I feel like, is it just because we're in big cities? But I feel like everybody. And even myself, I never really thought much about it, so I'm not even against anyone. It's like, whatever. I never thought about it growing up, too. Are we psyoped? Like, did we fall for the Kalergi plan? Did we? Or like, are we supposed to be against this or not? And so, because Joel Davis told me that we're all like race trading cucks in here. And like, we're all like, hey, maybe we are. But what I'm trying to understand is that even if we at our age are going to live a different lifestyle, right? Like I always tell people, just because I looked at a bunch of porn growing up and stuff, doesn't mean I tell my kids, hey, you also should look at porn too. I have a duty to tell my kids to not do some of the things I did or to try to like avoid some of the mistakes I made. And so I'm not promoting anything here. I'm not even saying interracial marriages are bad or anything's bad. I'm trying to ask a question. Are we supposed to be talking about that and promoting people to marry within their race? Or is that just like a useless anti-Christian idea, right? That's all I'm wondering. Like, should we be telling young people to stick in their race? Or is the birth rate so low that we should just be telling people to marry a Christian and, you know what I mean? And like have children? Like what's the right way there? What's the right message?
Well, Joshua Try says, since I'm black, of course, I'm the biased one on here. So
Well, I want to ask the chat that. Zesty8 said, God gave us government to punish evil. $20, by the way. We've let God out and evil has flourished. Believers in Christ, we know how this ends. Christ is king. Let's go. Also, the based clone troops at $20 as well. Let's go on YouTube. Said, if you ever have the time, you should check out the video game Stalker 2. It has you, a guild who shills dick pills. Dick pills? Do we ever do dick pills? I don't think we ever did.
No.
I don't think so. Tim Pool, a Jewish LARPer who sells shitty Jew guns, and a white, better Savannah Hernandez. It's a fun OWRPG.
Wait, hold on. Do you know that you were in a game? Have you heard of this?
No.
It's. I mean, that's what he's saying, right?
Well, he's saying that because we sell dick pills, someone sells dick pills in it.
So what's okay? That's
you're in a game selling dick pills.
I don't understand this chat at all.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I wanted to ask that because I'm about to go see Joel Davis. We're about to go interview Joel Davis, and he told me that like we have to all like repent, and we have to all like repent, and like we have to tell young kids that like not. It's not just like white people, but like if you have good genes, tell like young Hispanic kids to marry Hispanic women and like protect the Spanish race, right? Italians to like, this is also common, right? Parents, our parents, like I tried to date a Korean girl and her parents wouldn't let me because she had to date a Korean guy. You know what I mean? And that's fine. Yeah. I'm just wondering if like that's actually something we should be talking about or if that's a waste of time.
I mean, it helps if it's promoted more. I date a Spanish girl myself right now, so I can't really say too much. But yeah, no, it is something that we should push for to try to get it so we can multiply more. Yes. Are we going to be able to reach everybody that way? No, it's not going to happen. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to actually try to spread awareness and try to, pretty much grow more.
Yeah, someone said you sell testosterone. Dude, fenugreek, these are just like clinically proven ingredients to help up your testosterone. They're not dick pills. Not like sildenafil. I would sell dick pills.
They'll help you get a little bit more of that oomph in there.
They really help your libido.
Yeah.
So they help you to have like actual like want women. It helps you to be straight, basically, which we need a lot of this in our office. All right, I guess I'm being a dead horse because no one wants to answer. I like having uncomfortable conversations and asking myself, am I wrong? You know, that's all I'm wondering. Is this a really important issue? Because I see a lot of the far right or just like right wing nationalists. You know, you're in these chats, Mike. Like they talk about it, and I'm just wondering if it's like actually really important, or if it's just kind of like, do we just promote marriage and promote young people to marry? Like, what's the right way to like promote this? Like, because it's true, we are being replaced, but also, what's the right route? You know what I mean? Like, without like being a dick to people who are just living happy lives. Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, do I tell like a 19-year-old stay single and fat and don't like interracially marry? Like, is that the option for him, kind of thing? Like, is that what it is?
Yeah. Also, too. Well, I mean, you know, the population centers in the country are just very multicultural, and there's almost no reversing that. We're never going to have mass deportations. We're never going to get like a massive wave of people coming from Finland and Denmark or whatever. So it's just like, and like, you know, I mean, a lot of people on Twitter or people in group chats or whatever, people who are more far right or whatever. Yeah. I think it would be better for them just to get married. And obviously I think they should stay as close as possible to whatever race they identify as, I guess. But yeah, this whole thing about like, everyone has to stay within their race or whatever. It's kind of just like unrealistic, I guess, to some extent. If you're in Idaho, or if you're in like one of these like white enclaves in the country, or if you want to move there or something, and then, you know, find a white girl, I guess that's ideally better. But I think a lot of people don't really have any room to like be pickers and choosers about this stuff, is kind of what I'm trying to say too. So, I mean, like me personally too, by the way, and I've talked about this before with some people in the office. The girls I dated before I was with my wife, I dated an Ethiopian from Canada. And by the way,
that's crazy.
By the way, my mom's watching right now because she mentioned earlier that my uncle was 6'2" actually too. So on my white side,
hi,
by
Mom.
the way. Yeah, hi, Mom. I dated an Ethiopian girl from Canada, and then I dated a girl from Kazakhstan, and then I dated an Asian girl. But then, like, towards the end of that, I was like, you know what? I want my kids to look like me. So it's either I get a Hispanic girl, which no way, or I get a white girl. So because I'm half white, half Mexican. So what it came down to for me was someone, I wanted to have a kid that looked like me, and obviously I, you know, like, am I hurting the white race by having a quarter or like a quarter Mexican kid? I don't know. Would it be better if I had a Mexican wife and then I had 75% Mexican babies? Like, what's better for America? I would think the former, but I mean, Joel Davis might disagree with me and call me a mongrel.
The birth rate,
So,
well, that's a real thing, because I only bring this up too about the real question, right? Because Elon Musk brought this up today about the birth rate, that the average American family needs to have 3 children per woman to reverse the birth collapse, or else we're gonna have to bring another like 5 million immigrants a year. So the real question, this is where like we become practical, and this is where like Wignats or something will like always hate me. This is where you have to ask yourself the practical question, like, okay, you're like 26 years old now. Okay, so you don't have children, and you know, obviously I know you really want to, you know, we all want to have kids. So when you ask yourself, this is like the real application, I'm not blasting your life, but it's like, would I tell someone like you, hey, you're Elijah Schaffer in 8K. Like, you have better genetics than all the. This is an entire white office, by the way. It's crazy. We got Southern Europeans, Northern Europeans, very Southern Europeans. We got Sam, who's a South Pole European. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. But no, but it's like, okay, do you focus? Do I say preserve your genes at the risk of then not having children, or hey, you're like beyond just being a Christian, if you find someone you love and you want to be happy, and you know God, and the person knows God, and you like, the point is having a happy family and reproducing. Like, I don't want to get this wrong, because I feel like a lot of people might actually cheat themselves in having children, having a life, in trying to focus on the racial purity aspect. But on the other hand, I also don't think that we should be doing a ton of race mixing. I think it's unnatural. They force it upon us, right? Like, you might have an affinity towards Hispanic girls, but I mean, like, a lot of guys, like you were saying, are just live in a diverse area where their country betrayed them, and it's just flooded with Hispanic girls, and you're like, this is my only option, like in LA or something like that. Do you say, oh, well, I'm not going to have a family and kids Like, because God didn't say be fruitful and multiply only with your own people. But at the same time, we know the dangers of when you don't preserve your own people. It's a very tough question. I've been grappling with this for a while now. It's really bothering me.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying there. The one thing is too is who you fall in love with. That just comes down to getting to know the person, and then over time you see if there's that connection there. But the most important thing, as you said before, was having a relationship with God, having a sturdy foundation. That would come first. So I know that we are declining as far as, whites in the country. That's also a big push because you have a lot of the elites. What they do is they push for us to have abortion here. They push for us to have less children. They put it so every woman needs to be a boss lady. So this way they don't want to have a family. And then at the same time complain that our birth rates are down so they can flood our country with just more illegals. And that's what we see more time and time again. One thing also to point out too is I know a lot of times if you look at commercials that come out and when they show like couples, it's always a mixed racial couple. And I think the same thing in Google. I know there's they had a thing in Google when you would type in families, white families, every time they would like change either the father was a different nationality or the mother was a different nationality. So there is a big push for that as well. I as I said, I do date someone who's Spanish, so it's someone who I care for a lot, and that's why I chose to be with her. So it is tough. It is tough in a sense where you do want to preserve, but then
and that
at
girlfriend
the
is
same
just
time,
Mendoza in a dress.
It is. It is.
It's so someone said Mendoza real fast. They said, "Why don't you just have here's the answer: have multiple
Yeah, I
families like
saw
our
that, yeah.
ancestors before us." It's like that. Someone said Elijah just wants a harem.
Yeah.
I see everyone's. It's like, so what's the thing? So then I'll reproduce with 7 different women. Yeah, it's like the answer is harem. Let's get a round of applause. The answer is having a harem. I don't know if everyone's wives would be happy with that, but hey, what I've got to do to save the human race, I will do. I'm going to take one for the team here, okay?
Yeah.
King David, I want to be, when people say I want to be more like God's holy men, it's like, I want to be like Solomon and David. I want to be rich with horses, slay people, and have 30 wives. No, actually, people are new to the show. I always joke about that too, is that, like, I always tell my wife I totally understand the harem thing. Like, that makes sense, being a rich guy and having a harem. Having multiple wives.
See how many mailbox accidents you would have to take care of?
Dude, no, like having multiple women, having to have an emotional relationship with multiple women is insane. Maybe the only thing the Muslims get right is the harem. I'm totally joking.
Yeah,
by the
no,
way.
I feel
Mike
like
obviously
messing around.
disagrees. Mike obviously disagrees.
I'm totally joking.
That's a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. That's for me.
Yeah.
Someone said, "Who did Elijah marry?" How do you not know who Kez is? How do you not know who that is? Also, the Virgo on Fire says, "Elijah, I'd have your baby." Yikes! Relax, calm down. Someone said also Elijah actively converting to Mormonism. A couple of, when other super chat came in, that was the super chat here. I do love you guys. If you're new to the show too, a lot of what we say here is tongue in cheek, and it's just a little bit of fun. I'm very sarcastic and also sometimes a little bit cheeky. Okay, so the only point of that, we'll switch the topic here, but just so you know, it led to the election of this guy in the primary, socialist Zohan Mamdani, and we can kind of go over this. Here's what he wants to do in New York. He wants to end cash bail, which will allow criminals to flood the streets, repeal the walking while trans ban. I don't know what that is. They're definitely doing a lot of walking, unfortunately, more than I'd like to see. Decriminalizing sex work, so they want to legalize prostitution. Real quick question. So when I met my wife, she was working with this Christian organization that they were, prostitution or whatever is legal in a lot of countries, Netherlands, Australia, whatever. And they were kind of doing this video against brothels, which is a very evangelical, like, we're not promoting prostitution or whatever, about how this stuff's bad. However, going to Australia, I didn't notice anything different between their society and our society, having that they have like legal prostitution and stuff, because it's like here there is prostitution. It's just like, it's like strip club and you can pay for it in the back kind of thing, versus, you can pay for it in the front, with like fries or whatever. I mean, that's kind of how it is there. It's like, it's just kind of like whether drugs are legal or not, right? You can get them here too. You can't smoke weed there, but you can still buy it, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's kind of the same idea. And I think with the question is like, I think the reason why you don't want to legalize prostitution is because I do think, while people will access it no matter what, I actually sometimes I'm grateful that I don't live in a country where like I don't think we should legalize more temptations, more vices. Like, you know, sometimes it's like kind of funny. Like when I was in Salt Lake City, I didn't drink because there just wasn't anywhere to buy alcohol.
Yeah.
And like there was no stores, and so I just didn't drink. Not that I'm trying to make everything illegal and live in a Christian thing, but like I don't think legalizing prostitution, in my opinion, it's not some weird Christian like thing. I think it's just I don't think it's good to have brothels and to, you know, I think the zoning even here for strip clubs is good. How they're in like real, I wouldn't know where they are. But they're in like real, like, you know, seedy areas or like only in certain cities, right? They're not allowed around to like family homes and suburban things. I think America has a pretty good hold on the sex industry, and I don't think we should legalize more of it. That's what I don't think we should.
I don't think we should legalize it. Unfortunately, people will draw closer to sin. I mean, look what happens with OnlyFans. All these women everybody has an OnlyFans now. They've allowed these women allow themselves now to put themselves out there naked, to do all this stuff so they can get a quick buck. They don't have to go work a 9 to 5, and, you know, they can sell Mike the feet pics. So yeah.
So Elijah moved to New York to participate in Mamdani's harem program.
Yeah, I seen the one thing with him too. A lot of people said that they voted for him because of him being against Israel. Like he said he wouldn't visit Israel. But then I seen an AF post they put out saying that he's pledging now to combat bigotry, and New York specifically mentions the rising cases of anti-Semitism and hate crimes against Jewish people.
All right, well, we got some more stories to talk about for just a moment. In the meantime, we'll be right back in about 2 or 3 minutes. Make sure you go use the restroom, whatever you want to do. We have some great stories. We're going through what they're going to do in New York, what this means for the country. Don't go anywhere. If you're watching on YouTube and on Rumble, like the video, subscribe, all the good stuff, and we'll see you back here in just a few minutes. We are live here. We should also get some of that music that we can just play in the background, you know, like to bring it up. So talking a little bit about, we're talking about Zohan Kwame Mamdani and like what immigration brings us, right? Because this is what it brings you. It brings you anti-American ideas. It's crazy that people go, this is not an America, but no one's willing to say what an American is. And, you know, the reason why it feels uncomfortable listening to Vivek talk about what it means to be an American, or like listen to, I want to bring up this picture here. Listening to people being like noticing the problem, but being unwilling to say the problem. There's something really like cowardice about people where they cannot speak the truth because they're afraid. Like, you know, someone posted this, said the worst ones actually came here legally, and they put up this picture, you know, of these are like our politicians, by the way.
It's terrible.
You know? And, you know, what I said here is I said, not a single American in this photo. Not a single American in this photo. And people agreed, 5.2 thousand likes. Not a single American. And like, I was reminding people that, you know, one of the reasons why, like what happens in America is that we don't have actual progress. What's crazy is that our politics are progressive, but our infrastructure is not. No. Right? Mm-hmm. And like, look at this in Chongqing. Look at this new train station that's being built. By the way, I don't love the architecture. I'm not a big fan of modern architecture, but look at this.
I think Chongqing might have built the world's largest railway station by total construction area. This station is so big and so ambitious to a point that we name it the Dong Station. It looks empty right now because I'm lucky enough to have an early access to see this beautiful station. Just look at this concourse. It's so big. I wouldn't be surprised if you could park a Star Destroyer here. But a fair warning, if you're the kind of person who's always late, you're gonna learn the hard way in this place. At 1.22 million square meters, Chongqing Dong might just be the biggest railway station on the planet. And in true Chongqing fashion, of course, the station is built vertically. If you're coming from the subway, you will have to ascend 3 layers just to reach the main hall. But don't worry, escalators and elevators are everywhere, so accessibility is covered. This place has 15 platforms and 28 tracks. And the exterior, it's inspired by the city flower of Chongqing, the camellia, with petals blooming into steel structures. At night, the whole building glows with changing colors. It's genuinely stunning. Everything here feels futuristic, epic.
Okay, so obviously it's not open yet. It's not open. Chongqing is like a massively dense city. I think it's what, like 15 million people or something like 20 million people that live there, something crazy like that. Bigger than New York. And it's a beautiful city, by the way. The architecture and the way it's set up on its levels is quite amazing. You know, even doing like a non-political show, I've always talked about that. Like, I would like to do a docuseries called like An Amazing World, where it's like from somebody who hates everyone who's not me and my own people, but like showing that the world really isn't horrible. You know, I've been putting up a lot of videos showing like what Tehran's like and places. Americans are lied to because while our country is so like all that our country is today is basically what was in the 1950s, but dirtier and not kept up, right?
Well, we've seen that firsthand when we were in California. I mean, you've seen the architecture that they had then compared to what's now. They have that big ugly building, the most ugliest building or something you showed me.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like kind of Tucker had a special on that one time. I do believe it's a way to demoralize us, to bring us down. When you have, big cathedrals, you have big, just beautiful architecture. It inspires people. It makes people want more. But that's not what they want. In this country, what they want is they want us to be workers. They want us to feel like we have no national identity. They want us to feel separate from, our past and just pretty much fall into a mold of a person that just walks blindly and follows whatever they say.
Well, I'm writing this, by the way. I worked there. I tell people this. It's always like, don't covet their slavery. Nothing there is actually nice. Have you ever been into a modern apartment built by Americans? It's like made of paper. Like, what do you mean their construction isn't nice? Nobody's modern construction is nice. Like, this is one of the things about American idealism, exceptionalism that I'm going to say that I think is what you're seeing a lot of people on the right wing lean into, is I am not becoming black-pilled and anti-American because I am pro what America was meant to be. I think a lot of people feel this. I believe in the ideals of America. I believe in the idea of America. I believe in the American people. But we have a lot of people living here who are not American. Like 40% of New York is foreign born, meaning not only are they not American citizens by creed and by paper, they're also just not American. American is something like, look, everyone says, can you have non-white Americans? In some instances, perhaps. Like, you do meet some black guys who do come across American. Like they've been here for a long time. They became naturalized. They believe in building a better life for themselves, and you get that. They're like one of you feel like you can get along.
But a lot of the foreigners that we get that come over, that's not the case. A lot of them come over. That. Yeah, they flee from their country. They're like, okay, we need to come to a better place, so they come to America, and then what they want us to do is the same thing their country's doing. They don't want to hold our flags. They don't want to follow our values and our beliefs. They want to conform us back to what they originally escaped from. I mean, you see the same thing in other places. Like, so for instance, you had a bunch of people that fled from New York and California, just, in the U.S. and come into other states like Florida or Texas, and then they continue to vote on the same policies. That's the same thing we see in other countries. It's like they leave a pretty much as like, shithole to them. They come here and then they want to adopt the same thing that they want us to adopt the same stuff that they had in their country. And that just makes no sense.
You know what? One of the things I want to bring up is that, again, not glazing China, not glazing these countries, is that we're sort of painted an inaccurate understanding, even what Mexico is. If you go to Mexico City, it's pretty nice, actually. And when you go to LA, it's actually kind of a shithole. And it's almost the opposite in film, where LA is depicted as nice and Mexico's always got this like sepia filter on it, for some reason. By the way, a lot of Mexico is horrible, but what's up with that? Why whenever there's something like in Mexico or Arab countries, like, well, it's got like this weird coloring and everything looks like you're in the desert. Everyone's like, like hot and there's like tumbleweeds. Like, what is that? Like,
yeah.
There's a good TikTok of that where it's like every time a movie is like in an Arab country, and it's always like some like Arab music, that there's a sepia filter. There's someone working at like a little cart where they're selling rugs. There's like someone with like a camel. It's always like those same tropes every single time.
Yeah, but like when you travel the world, this was about the beautiful world. What I've noticed is this: people say, "Oh, Elijah glazes Russia. Elijah glazes China." No, what I'm doing is I'm pointing out one of the greatest propaganda tactics in the United States. Everyone thinks of China, oh, their government has propaganda. You think of Russia, oh, Putin and his propaganda. What about Hitler? Nazis and the propaganda. Do you realize the amount of propaganda that you are served, not just through Hollywood, but through this esoteric understanding that countries are like back in the opium era? Like, and the reason why they don't want you to know this, they do not want you to see how much progress these cities have made. And why? No, I do not want to live under Putin. No, I do not want to live under the CCP. You're missing what I'm saying. Under these horrible governments, they're still able to rapidly advance. When you go to Moscow, there's no homeless people, okay? The city streets are clean. In China, they have 20 million people in a city, and it's clean. And these are the guys that are popping, they're farting in public, and it's clean. Americans would die if they understood how good the middle class has it in China. And the reason why they go, well, China's poor. Okay, yeah, there's about 2 times as many people that are lower middle class or low class in China than there are citizens in America, actual people, right? There's like 600, 700 million. But there's more people that are middle class in China than there are people in America as well. And the middle class there, you know, they have, like I said, we talk about it all the time. They have 2 years of savings. This is what they standard. The home values, they can still own homes, you know, for several $100,000 for their families. Things are walkable. Life wasn't bad in China. I went to China and it wasn't bad. And I didn't have a North Korean person and I was able to travel around. And even when you go see the people in poverty, they owned their homes.
Yeah.
They were poor and the homes were not nice, but they like owned them. Here, that's not the case. No one owns anything anymore. And that's like, well, China, the government owns everything. Well, here the Jewish bankers own everything. It's like, so I get Chinese people that name their airports Dong that own stuff, or I have rich Jews that own my car and own my house. And so it's like, do you know what I'm saying? Like the propaganda is like, well, our government doesn't own it. Yeah, rich Jewish people control my life here. So really, it's not much different. You think I have the appearance of freedom, but it's like, well, the government could take your car away. Well, miss your payment on your car and watch the bank take it away. Like, it's not, you don't even own that shit, and then you own your home, but you have property tax. So the government can still take it away. It's propaganda to make you think that they got it so much worse, when in reality, yeah, speak out against the government, you will disappear there. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to live there. I'm not pro Chinese life.
It's not about living there, but the problem is here is you're right. Bankers and corporations, they're the ones who are taking over. They have monopoly on the market. You know, I think BlackRock was buying up, I forget how many houses. It was ridiculous, single family homes, just to raise the market value. So this way people can't afford it. We're just continuously renting. And when you point out what these other countries are doing, which they like to hide from us, one, I don't know if it's just to try to make it like, you know, they're more barbaric or whatever it is, so it's easier for us to have wars with them. But it's also pointing out that these people, even under the conditions that they are, they're still growing, they're still prospering, they're still building a better country for themselves, yet here we're not doing that. And I think if we seen more of how other countries are advancing, then we would ask more of our country. And that's one thing that they don't want. I know you also pointed out that video in Iran, the Iran mall, and that kind of blew my mind when I seen that mall, because it was like, way different than anything I've seen in movies. It's way different than anything I've seen anywhere else. But these are the type of things that they hide from us to try to give us this blindness to what's really going on in the world.
Yeah, have you ever seen like a gas station? And they always show you the bad parts, but if you also saw just like the bad parts in our country as well, you would kind of like, you know, have a bad understanding. But it's like, when you look at these countries, there are good places and there are bad places. I just think, like, have you seen this? Like, here's a gas station in Iran, right? Check this out.
If you've ever wondered what a gas station looks like in Iran, I'm going to show you. Merci. Good office.
And obviously there's shitty gas stations too. This, you know, it's not like
every
gas station is going to
one.
look like this, but they act like this stuff doesn't exist there. And I just find it to be really, really strange. You know, when you go into LA, everyone that lives there goes, yeah, well, half the city is just like third world. And it's like, but that's okay in LA. In New York, you know, maybe you have like Midtown, right? The Upper East Side. You have like some really nice areas, but the financial district, right? But like a lot of it's just scary.
Yeah.
You know, and we saw in LA, like there's really nice areas, but you know, let's be honest, we have a lot of problems here. And I think the propaganda that Americans have is like, why? Yeah. Like, it's like, okay, so why are our subways bad? Well, we can't make them nice because they get ruined. Ruined by who? Third world immigrants, non-white people, black people pissed and stuff. So how could we make them nice? We'd have to fix the social problems. This is why that's why we can't have nice things, because we have to fix social problems. And they don't want to stop the immigration, and they don't want to stop the chaos. They don't want to stop that in our country. So everyone knows, why would we make nice subways? Why would we make a nice subway? We shouldn't, because people are just going to ruin it and piss on it. But we'd have to fix the social problem to get the better infrastructure. And they don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, yes. The one thing is that we should aspire for more. We should aspire to have better, you know, train stations or wherever, all these different businesses. But in order for that to happen, one thing we have to do is we have to start acknowledging that there is certain demographics, there's certain, you know, types of pretty much when you have someone who's a minority commit a crime, as I said, they usually hide it. They hide the crime statistics and everything. And until we acknowledge that there is a problem in our country with certain minorities, until we understand that there is a problem with certain ethnic groups, and we don't change it by acknowledging and being able to fix these problems, unfortunately, anything we create will be destroyed. And it's very unfortunate. You see that happen in New York. I mean, riding in a New York train station, you're either going to get stabbed or you have someone else lighting somebody on fire, and you have, homeless people doing God knows what in the corner. So these are things that we have to change in order to have a better country. But it doesn't mean that we can't stop from aspiring to build these types of infrastructures. But first thing we have to do is, yes, we have to acknowledge the problem that we have here.
Yeah, and we're going to be switching over to our slightly offensive overtime segment only on locals. I got to tell you a couple things. First of all, Rando Flag sent $5 on the Rumble rants. I like now that we're getting them between Rumble and YouTube. It's really, really, really helpful. By the way, guys, like 2 Protects 1 is one of you guys who watch. We're going to be able to bring him out here, and we're literally going to buy his ticket, his hotel, using the super chats that you guys sent in. And so you guys know, on YouTube, for our first payout, because Joey's basically been masterminding the whole YouTube. And so, him and you've been designing all the thumbnails, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get a smaller bonus, but they're going to get a bonus from the first payout for putting, I've always said in this company, it's like, if you're put on your effort into something that makes money, obviously we'll all benefit, but you can get more benefit because that's how we want to reward meritocracy. But Joey's been working his ass off with Mike. But I mean, really, Joey's been fucking he's here right now. He's been here for like 10 hours, 12 hours, working and editing and just working with everybody. He's like, I feel like it's like he's gonna get the star at the end of the week for being the exceptional player. I wish we had more resources to bless him with something, because it's really like, this is what I want to see out of people. And this is gonna sound stupid too. This is what you expect we all should be like, right? But you don't get a lot of, people aren't like this today. So thank you, Joey. So he's been working his ass off, and you guys giving super chats and stuff is actually going to really allow us to continue to just bring out even like small name people, which I think is really important for Rift. We're not looking for you to have a massive following. Look at Jay Dyer. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He is big, but I meant like, he's not like the biggest person. And like his audience is loyal, and you guys showed up. Shout out to Jay Dyer and the Orthodox. But I want to bring out more loyal audiences. So even if you got 10,000 subs, 5,000 subs, but you got a loyal group of 300 people that watch you, then I'd rather have you on, and then we can like connect and like swap spit basically. But Randall Flagg said, speaking of Hollywood propaganda in cities, Cairo is one of the biggest shitholes on earth now. Massively overpopulated, trash everywhere, and not uncommon to see dead puppies just rotting in the sun. Yeah, Cairo's gross, man. They're literally, Egypt gave up on Cairo. I don't know if you know about that. They created a new capital, and they're just restarting over because they can't fix the city. That's not even a joke. They're just creating a new capital.
That's crazy.
Do you know about that?
I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah, but that's true. We removed a comment. I don't know what it said. All right, we're gonna be heading over to locals. So this is our locals only segment. Just so you guys know, it's free to join right now. It's free to join. I do encourage you guys to make a membership. It's like an infinite super chat. When you get in there, we read your chats for free. So like, if we do appreciate your super chats, but like, if you just want to join for a one time for the year, it's just like a few bucks a month. And we'll just interact with you. When you have guests, you can just ask them questions. We typically, it becomes a lot more unfiltered. It's like Timcast uncensored, and we change transitions, and it's like F-bomb. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. That's not how it is. We just talk about whatever. Like maybe we'll talk a little more about, these countries and like, why if some places in Tehran would be nice, why can't we have those people here, or what's the issue? I want to get into all of that. So make sure that you head over there. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Rumble, like the video, subscribe. I threw the links to the opposite on each other's. We appreciate you guys watching. If you want to find me, you can just follow me at locals, ElijahSchaefer.locals.com. I'm going to throw the link in the chat as well. It should just be the little red button that you can find if you're on Rumble. You'll see a little button right there underneath the video that says join. That's where you can find me. And in the YouTube chat, I've gonna put that here. Sane Millennial said, I've been supporting Elijah on locals for like 3 years now. We need more people in there in this chat and make it lively. Yeah, and in the chat as well, we have some people in there as well. We got Doomsday Crackers there, Primetime Pent, Big Log, Real Dandy Andy, Big Mac, and we want more people to join. So anyway, you can follow you as well at.
You can find me at snowflake_news on Instagram as well as X. Love for you to come check it out.
Yes. And then, by the way, there's a super chat on Rumble, on locals. A Primetime Pimp said, Mike's mom is watching live. Shout out Mom Doza.
Mom Doza.
Should I ask about the cute German girl at church, father the star child, and revitalize the wheat fields? Or should I remain on an unlivable trestle and be stone cold to the grave? Honest opinions from insightful Schaefer. It's true. All right, guys, we're going to be right back, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes, only on Locals. ElijahSchaefer.locals.com. Put on the BRB sign for a couple minutes, and we'll see you over there for our slightly offensive overtime segment.